As the work of the 7th administration gets underway in earnest, the implementation of government's policy will have to filter down to municipalities and actually translate into service delivery. Salga, the South African Local Government Association, is tasked with ensuring that local government achieves a number of objectives, including spatial justice and social cohesion, by ensuring that it can run smoothly. Let's talk about its work now with Lance Joel, who is the Chief of Operations. Lance, good morning to you and welcome. The country, we have 257 257 metropolitan district and local municipalities. We've got 8 metropolitan, 44 district, 205 local municipalities. And I'd love for you to kick us off by just talking about Salga's mandate and purpose.
Well, good morning, Iman, and also good morning to the viewers. Salga is, in summary, a representative voice of municipalities, meaning that all 257 municipalities are members of Salga. And at the core of the mandate of Salga is to represent the interest of municipalities as we engage with national government and with provincial government respectively, but it's largely about ensuring that any matter that materially impacts on local government, Salga is part of that conversation and represent the interest of local government within the intergovernmental space.
And thanks for that, thanks for that opening. Here's the conundrum that we sit with, Lance. There's so much urgency, more so now than ever, for local government to work in the way that it's envisaged, to work in the way that I've introduced, in the way that you've just explained. You've had the government turnaround strategy that was introduced as a government program of action. It was meant to be a blueprint for better service delivery so that these municipalities and all of its representatives could be responsive, accountable and effective at local government. And a couple of focus areas were identified to fast-track how national strategies can be implemented on the ground, so service delivery, governance. I mean, there's just a raft of them. But we sit in a context where it has been characterized by dysfunction. We talk about the lack of financial sustainability across municipalities, 175 or so. That's a large percentage of the number of municipalities that we have simply dysfunctional. You heard also the incoming Minister, Nkosini Tlabisa-Kokta, under whom Salga falls, planning to crack down on municipalities, even talking about the dissolution of certain municipalities. How do you explain that fracture and that dissonance between all of these interventions and the problems that we are still experiencing at local government level?
Well, Iman, as a starting point, there has been, as confirmed by the census of last year, that good progress has been made by municipalities in delivering services. But this progress comes at the backdrop of a range of challenges that municipalities are experiencing. And we were especially excited yesterday when the minister himself, as part of his budget speech, announced that there is going to be a review of the white paper on local government. Why are we excited? Is that the white paper on local government of 1998, which is essentially anchored the legislation that regulates local government, it had made a number of assumptions at the time to ensure the functionality of municipalities. Many of those assumptions have not materialized. And those assumptions have impacted, as you said, on the financial sustainability of municipalities and the ability of municipalities to respond to their constitutional mandate. So there's an opportunity for us now to go back to the drawing board, revisit the assumptions within the context of the current reality, and redefine what should anchor as a foundation key aspects of local government. And you have also touched on it. We have similarly had assumptions about capacity and leadership within municipalities, and certainly over time, the reality has shown us that that may not be the case. So a perfect opportunity for this new administration to lead us in the conversation, to revisit key aspects of local government, to make it work better.
Lance, when do we pack away the new brooms is the question, because You have so many different initiatives, all right? So there was a 10-year-long project that was initiated by Salga, I think, in 2014 to beef up local government. You also have the Local Government Ethical Leadership Initiative. That was a partnership between the Ethics Institute, the Department for Cooperative Governance, and yourselves, as well as the Moral Regeneration Movement. This was established to develop this code of ethical leadership in local government. And, you know, again, it forms part of the local government anti-corruption strategy. From my understanding is this project was meant to last 5 years, kicking off in 2019, coming to completion in this year. I want to ask what's the outcome, but also when do we stop with the initiatives to make local government actually function the way it's supposed to function?
Well, as a starting point, the ethical leadership program that you've referred to is work in progress. It is at an advanced stage. It is certainly something once we have consolidated at the end of this year, we would be able to share that. So that is work in progress, and we are confident that we would be able to respond to what the intention was at the time. Coming to your second point around when do we stop the interventions, the reality is that when there are challenges that are being experienced, and challenges are not going to go away, they will be sustained as we try to, on an ongoing basis, improve the delivery of services. And when challenges emerge, we need to identify an appropriate mechanism, an appropriate tool, an intervention to respond to those challenges. So interventions are not going to go away. They are going to remain a part of the improvement mechanism that we have. And certainly, there are many of them that are required, but we are saying, let's deal with the structural issues, underlying issues first, because that will set us on a path to self-correct and improve ultimately the execution of services at the local government level.
I mean, I take the point about interventions not having to go away. That's fine. But it's like, and maybe my analogy is a little bit deficient, but it's like having a car in the garage. You're going to put on the tires and we're going to, no, we need to keep adding all of these different things, but never do we get to take it onto the highway and experience it, you know, at full functionality. And that to me is analogous of what's happening in the municipalities. When you think about so many different areas of dysfunction, Lance, and we can pick the easiest one, right? This is on debt collection, which we think probably the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for municipalities to do. We're sitting with an issue where just 3 days ago, Eskom says we're being held to ransom by local municipalities. We are warning of a new power risk to the country because municipalities aren't able to do their debt and revenue collection, aren't able to pay us what we owe. I think the numbers at 78 billion rand now, projected to go into like the trillions of rands by 2050. I mean, here's an area where that debt collection, that financial muscle and capacity should be there. We're not seeing the benefit of these interventions.
Well, in response, there are two things that you are raising, Iman. The first one, your analogy of a car. That's exactly the problem we have. We want to try and fix the tires without taking a holistic approach on what is wrong with this car. So that when you respond holistically, you don't respond piecemeal. And as you respond piecemeal, you pick up as you go along that there are other challenges. There are engine challenges, there are challenges with other parts of the vehicle. So we are saying it is time for us to take a holistic approach so that there's a holistic response to the challenges. So that's the first part. The second part that you are raising is around debts, and we capture it as debts owed by municipalities, and you've correctly pointed that out. Eskom is owed around 80 billion rands. Collectively, municipalities owe all of its debtors around 106 billion rand. But we must also look at this context, Iman, that municipalities provide services and they invoice for those services, they charge for those services, and there's a dependency on the user to pay for those services. As we speak, there's 347 billion rand owed to municipalities for services already provided. So households, meaning you and I, business and government are not servicing a debt to municipalities, which impacts on the ability of a municipality to service its own debt. And we are encouraging households, business and government to come to the table and service their debts with municipalities so that it enables municipalities to service their debts, not only to Eskom, but also to water boards, but also businesses that provide service to municipalities. So it's a two-way stream. it cannot just be said that municipalities are owing. Municipalities are also owed. And it is
That's
three
right.
times more than what
That's right, Lance. And so those who owe, there have to be consequences to that owing. And again, this in and of itself, the debt revenue collection, is a massive issue because it depends also on new administrations going in and coming out, creating new rules, new protocols, perhaps even instituting new systems at great cost to the public purse. They don't work, chopping and changing. But on the other hand, it is about people who, if they don't pay, should face the consequence. I mean, we have a constitution in the country. If I break the law, the government can't say, oh, well, you broke the law now, it's a two-way street. I have to go to jail, or I have to pay a fine, or I have to do community service, or whatever it is. Where's the consequence management for people who are holding the municipal purse at ransom? And that depends on the organization and having competent employees to bring all of that full circle.
Well, Iman, I think it would be unfair to think that nothing is being done. I think you yourselves as the media have covered recently where municipalities have implemented their credit control policies by, one, disconnecting businesses, disconnecting households, having a serious campaign to recover the monies that it owed to them. And that itself also came with criticism. Now, the reality is that there are certain infrastructure, public infrastructure that cannot be disconnected. Municipalities are owed for providing services to hospitals. Now, we can't disconnect as municipality hospitals because what is the consequence of that? Okay. So it is not as simple as we think it is. And I think you are correct. We need all and sundry to come on board and assist municipalities in recovering what is due to them, but also allowing them then to service their debt.
Lance, Joel, thank you very much for that. And I know that you and I need to talk more about this particular point. We will definitely invite you back because it is important that we understand both our responsibility but also what we are entitled to have in terms of local governance and leadership. That's Lance Joel joining us from Salga.